That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Burn live. Marijuana, we keeping you connected. Hashtagging these red eyes. Changing the viewer's eye red. Keeping underage smoking off social media. Killing ourselves for your entertainment. Sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabisation. It's time for us to talk about it. It's the name of the title today. I just wanted to come on here and talk, and hopefully that the live will sound a little bit better than it did last time. Um, yesterday, yesterday I went live. You couldn't hear me in the first 45 minutes of the show. Hopefully this show today sounds a little bit better. Sounds a lot better. You can hear it. It sounds good. My goal in this marijuana industry is to smoke weed with you guys and discuss things that are highly important and that are going on, and that we get a better understanding of what we're trying to do on this show, on this channel. I'm going live a little earlier than normal, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever time you watch this. I do appreciate that no matter what, I do go live. I stream 6 times a day. I do have a lot of people that do come back to these shows and watch them later on. Yet again, I do appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, but you do it anyway. I've been working on trying to perfect my performance, bring better shows to the topic, to the subject, things that truly does matter to you, to me. If it didn't matter to us, I don't think that we should be discussing it. There's a lot of things that have been going on. A lot of people are becoming more woke. A lot of people are becoming more phobia of different things. It's really dramatically crazy and different. Um, I just thought maybe I would stream a little bit longer, a little bit crazier today, not going into true definitions of what I'm gonna talk about, who I'm gonna talk about, or where these stories are coming from. It is a lot of stories out there. It's one story that's hit mainstream media. Only certain people have discussed and talked about it because, yet again, it is very controversial. A lot of people are not going to talk about it because of the stories or how it's been portrayed. Yeah, it is what it is. We can't let everything be portrayed how we want it to be portrayed and think that everything is going to be okay. Just real talk. It may sound nice, it may sound good, it sounds like this is the way that it has to go. Like, if we don't like it, fuck it. We're just gonna make a law, we're gonna restrict it from people, and we're gonna keep it going. And that's basically how things have been looking, how things have been working out towards. This is a marijuana show. Let me first and foremost and put that out there. Oh my God, I can't wait to get some lights up under here. Soundproof just a little bit better. We in there. Yet again, y'all, this is a marijuana show, so please bring your dabs, your trays, your weed paraphernalia out. Let's let it be known, let it be heard, let it be, yeah. Today's show is brought to you today by nobody. Nobody. Nobody wants to uh Nobody wants to get involved with a show like mine. I have discussed to people what type of show this is. You have heard a lot of people say, go out there and tell somebody, hey, I know a friend who smokes weed and talk about politics. They be like, good luck. And then what's crazy is I have so many people who be like, man, I'm down to be a part of your show, and I love to hear it and see what you discuss. I'm like, oh man, come. I do live shows every day, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And I'll be looking for it. I do have people that stop up in here like Bruce, Danny, Nitro, 00. Not too many. I do got my regulars that stop through. I ain't seen some of my regulars in a minute, man. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Yet again, like I said, y'all, this is a marijuana group. We're here to marijuanically educate ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing right there. Marijuanically educate ourselves into seeing what is good for us. I think that is the best. Um, that's the best medicine for us to put us in this virtue signaling of what's going on. I do got a couple of stories. I got this one story I wanted to cover yesterday and the day before yesterday. I was kind of hoping that there were more stories come out. There's not that many stories came out. So therefore, we're going to discuss this. And, hopefully some people come up in here when we talk about this. This story has not hit mainstream media, but a little bit. I heard about it. I didn't know too much about it. I know a little bit more. So I'm going to let this story get developed and let y'all get caught up.
All right, guys. So we got to follow up on this story about the Philadelphia mass shooting that was swept under the rug by the mainstream liberal media because it does not fit the narrative. Okay, this story basically is not going to be in mainstream news anymore. Okay, you're going to have some people talk about it in the left-wing liberal media, but the way they're going to talk about it, they're either going to try to blame guns. They're going to try to say that this black cross-dressing, allegedly trans shooter is a Trump supporter, or they're going to say that it is a lie for you to state that this person was trans, okay, or may have been trans, which I find to be very, very, very hypocritical from the left. And I want to tell you guys why. But first, I want to play a news clip with an update on this situation. And then I also want to play a clip of an activist, a local activist in the community, basically talking about how it's dangerous. It's dangerous to say that the mass shooter is trans or may have been trans, even though we have pictures of this person cross-dressing or whatever. They're saying that sharing those.
I am under the influence that maybe I need to just start talking about freedom of speech. Every story that I seem to come across has something edgily to do with freedom of speech and how you can't say this word because it might affect this, and just I know where I think I want to go, but it's just like where to really truly go to get the right answer.
Pictures is dangerous for black trans people. And I want to talk about it because, again, this exposes a whole lot of hypocrisy and kind of destroys the left's on narrative when it comes to this gender conversation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
But the big story in Action News tonight is new developments in the investigation into that mass shooting in King Sussing. Today, the 40-year-old suspect, Kim Brady Carricker, was charged with the murder of 5 people. Carricker also faces a slew of charges related to 5 survivors of the rampage. New details have also emerged about the suspect's mental state and his arsenal of weapons.
Mental state. Thought, idea, how do we think? Where does our process come from? Who am I? Mental thought.
This as family members of the victims continue to grieve their sudden and senseless loss. Action News reporter Maggie Kent is live tonight with more. Maggie.
Well, Rick, we heard from investigators who took Carricker into custody, allegedly responsible for killing those 5 people in Kinsessing on Monday. He was heavily armed.
Look, hey, I don't mean to cut y'all off. We gonna finish up this story, but notice, like, Even reporters, everybody's so hooked on their phone. The girl got to do reporting, can't even put the phone down. She got to keep it in her hand.
Also wearing a bulletproof vest. And when they started to search his home, they found more weapons, ammunition, and a will dated June 23rd, less than 2 weeks before the shooting. Kim Brady Carricker was in court this morning, charged with 5 counts of murder, 10 counts of attempted murder, weapons, and assault charges. Investigators say he showed signs to family of growing agitation before carrying out this mass shooting in Kinsessing.
That was the norm for him, wearing this vest and having guns in the house. But they all described that he was becoming more and more agitated over the last couple of days.
Tyreek Glasgow is a mentor and founder of Young Chances Foundation. Today, he mourns the loss of 2 people, the youngest and eldest victims.
It hurts. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
His cousin, 59-year-old Ralph Morales, was excited to walk his daughter down the aisle in her wedding next week.
He was the one that, regardless of any family function, had that smile.
Glasgow was a mentor to 15-year-old DeJuan Brown, killed protecting his 13-year-old brother from gunfire. The younger boy was hit twice in the legs, but will survive.
When he seen his family, his brother in distress shot, he went back to help. And that's what we as a community to understand, that when we see our other brothers, our community members down, the risk to going back to saving one. If we all had that approach, I think our community would be in a better position than it is.
All as a city in our prayers. I want to discuss very briefly, because there is a nasty, violent, in terms of verbal and written words, spewed by the conservative press regarding the shooter. There are certain pictures that are circulating. Some of you may be aware of those pictures. Have the shooter in one picture as male and other pictures dressed in female attire or female outfits. They have used those pictures to attack trans people, and particularly trans women of color.
Right there. When they say that this person who did mass shooting, y'all, is triggering other people to get attacked, how? They never explain to us how are they being attacked. What do they mean by being attacked? Every time we get to this discussion, it's always they've been attacked. When has black people been attacked? Oh, no, they do the attacking. Okay.
Which are extremely vulnerable to violence in our community. I want to set the record straight, because language is extremely important when we're talking about anything dealing with violence in trans community. The suspect or the shooter has not identified themselves as trans. They have only identified themselves as male. And that's the language that will be used until further developments, if they change that type of language. But the language that is spewed out by the conservative press is violent and is dangerous, and is targeting trans women of color. It's rallying the community to be violent. And we're better than that. We're better than that. We have our trans women and our trans men living in these communities, working, thriving in the communities. They are not killers. They are the most vulnerable to violence. They want to live their lives, and they have every right to do so. And we will not allow conservative bigots to use that type of language to attack trans.
Yeah, so here we have it. The same old song and dance every time there's a mass shooting that doesn't fit the narrative, okay? The victim is not the people that actually were shot and killed. The victim is actually, the people that did the mass shooting, right? They're the victim, okay? Because, they live a different lifestyle, right? This is what the media always pushes. This is what the activists always push. But in this situation right here, the hypocrisy from the left is absolutely stunning. And I'm going to tell you guys why this is so hypocritical. Because these are the same people that will tell you that because a child dresses in a way that's not traditional for their gender or their sex, that must mean that the child is trans, right? We've all heard this before, right? We've all heard this, right? A boy likes the color pink and wants to dress as a girl. Now, instead of just saying, hey, well, this is a child, right? A child clearly, doesn't really understand what these things mean, okay? And they're just being children. No. We must confirm them, right? We must confirm that they are, or affirm is the right word. We must affirm that they're actually trans, right? This is the argument that they make, okay? Children who cross-dress are trans, right? This is the argument that they make. And if you disagree with that, then you're a bigot, okay? And that you don't care about trans kids, right? But we have a cross-dressing man, okay? A full-blown man who's cross-dressing, dressing like a woman, and they're telling us that this person's not trans, right? They're not trans because we don't have any proof that they identified as trans. Even though the media, when this story first came out, they used they, them pronouns, right? They, them pronouns, okay? So again, I'm trying to figure out exactly how this works. When it comes to children cross-dressing, that is evidence that they're trans and they must be affirmed. However, when it's a man cross-dressing, no. That doesn't mean that he's trans, right? Cross-dressing doesn't mean you're trans. He's just a cross-dresser, right? He never came out and said that he's trans, so therefore he's not. And if you say any other way, you're a bigot, right? Even though, again, they tell us when it comes to children that cross-dress, they might be trans, right? Amazing. Also, again, the hypocrisy. Remember the Colorado mass shooting? Okay. That mass shooter, okay, the LGBTQ club mass shooting, that shooter came out as non-binary. And the media said, no, this person's not actually non-binary because he doesn't look non-binary, right? AKA, he's not a cross-dresser, right? So he's not actually non-binary, okay? You guys see how this works? These people are picking and choosing when people can and can't be trans. They gatekeep people who can be trans.
They trying their best, which in our eyes, how we see it, y'all, they're doing a very good job of dividing us and letting us know who we are, who we can't be, and what we can and cannot do, and who we can and cannot see, and what we can and cannot go, and what we can and cannot do. It's all over the place. It's really simple to say this is what you can and cannot do. It's disgusting. Can we say it's disgusting? But this is basically, like I'm saying, we need to talk about it, y'all. This woke ideology. I'm gonna say it like this. And it's gonna be, it's hard for me to say this, and you see me pausing before I say this. But in the marijuana community, there are very, 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 very lots of woke people. Can we agree to disagree when we say this? Because you're going to see a lot of people that you're going to be like, man, do they do what? They love to smoke weed. All the potheads are damn near probably with the LBGT community. It's like they don't want to get in the mix of what's going on. Breaking news, I do believe, y'all. Breaking fucking news. If I am a Texas party mass shooting, stop playing. They have no value. I don't know if it's today, right now. It just I seen live. I'm like, oh, they really live with this? Like, yeah, this live. And then as you see the title, man, this is mass shooting.
And look, this was a decision that took us a while to come to.
That looked like a plane
and
crash.
all of the concerns that people have raised,
This
the
dead
humanitarian
jet
concerns,
crash
what the reaction of allies and partners would
in
be,
Cali.
what
Oh
the
my God,
reaction would be
bros.
on the Hill. All of these
Crazy
things
what
were
goes
debated
on.
and
What's been
adjudicated
reported
within
was,
the interagency.
and this at the Pentagon.
Well, one of the things, in addition to the fact that
Hey, there's
we
a
weren't
conspiracy
providing
theory.
cluster
There
munitions
is a
above the WH.
conspiracy theory that the Pentagon is not supposed to be existing no more. Like America been wanting to get rid of the Pentagon to try to cover up its secrets that it has. I don't know if have anybody paid attention. And I heard that also rumor is the only reason why they say only 26% of America actually is into politics. So you think about this for
that I
all of us
talked
that
about was
believes in
the assurances that we
conspiracy
got
theories or
from
things that
the
are going
Ukrainian side
down.
on
This right here.
We've gotten these assurances in writing. The secretary had an opportunity to discuss this with Minister Reznikov yesterday, and he reiterated those assurances. And I said in my opening, those assurances are essentially that they would not use DPICM in urban areas that are populated by civilians, and that there would be a careful accounting of where they use these weapons. That's going to matter for future demining efforts. I should also say, well, none of us should minimize this issue. This is an issue the Ukrainians are going to have to grapple with regardless. If we had never made a decision on DPICM,
Okay, understand listen, everybody that came in here, understand we came into this late. So we don't know the full story. We just see Texas party mass shooting. We see the cluster military in Ukraine. Britney Spears got slapped by an NBA player, the NBA star. I mean, like, why is they covering? That's a bunch of bullshit for it. And it's a story that needs to be covered. That's important.
Ukrainians would be demining. It's going to be a generational effort because
this
of
story right here,
the amount of.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna wait till I get some more developing news before I keep going. I'll wait till I get some more developing news before I keep going. Another story I did want to cover. Gotta have that gas when you're coming on to this show. Mm-hmm. Gotta have that gas when you're coming on to this show. Another thing I want to cover, if I can just find these stories real quick, bros, is that, yeah, I did want to cover, well, somebody else covered it, but no, I'm not going to cover that right now. What we're going to cover is how people are looking at the debate and how it's looking towards the future for us. I'm going to go deep into some stuff. Okay.
Right now, with everything that's going on with the election, okay, you're seeing DeSantis, you're seeing Trump, you're seeing RFK, you're seeing Vivek, you're seeing, obviously Biden, Newsom was on Hannity, all this stuff.
For y'all that watch my show and keep it up, you know what I'm saying? For y'all that are, keep it up. I appreciate it. But for y'all that are not, keep it up. This is for you. The election really is going to kick off by November. It's really going to get into the hype. You're really going to start seeing the commercials. Because for one, it's wintertime, y'all. Wintertime, people are indoors. Families are sticking together. You know what I'm saying? Best time to start debating and triggering people into who you want to vote for, who you're not going to vote for, who you smoking with, who you not. Listen, election time can stop you from smoking with your friends. You think that I'm playing. You think that I'm BSing. Y'all see that big ass? Yeah, I seen that too. But y'all think that I'm playing. A lot of people, we all were smoking together. We all were smoking together. This was one big, huge smoke group burn live right here. I normally would have 20 to 30 people up in here. We're going to all be smoking. We all be chilling. Okay. With me having this setup right here and background and sounding good in a mic, yo, come on, man. We should be rocking. We should be rocking. You go back and look at my page. You go back and look at my page, bros. Everything looks good. Page rocking. I got stars. I got healthy reports. All that. So it's just like, wow. Wow. Understandable that now that I have spoken this, I start talking that shit about politics, Trump supporter, you know what I'm saying, red, white, and blue, you know what I'm saying, dictating what we're looking at and how we're looking at it, and talking that stuff, bringing on receipts to the table, that not liking what I'm like. So now nobody wants to smoke with me. No one wants to smoke with me. Now, am I supposed to be mad and jealous and upset? No. I just got to realize that the type of people I want to smoke with, I need to build me a community. If it's true what they say, you shall build it, they will come. Okay, cool. We shall build it, they shall come. Our build will be a marijuana smoking group where we talk that talk about things that really are important. I see a lot of groups that talk about things that are important. They barely got views. They got way less videos than me. Way more views. Thousands. 100,000s. But I understand that me being in the marijuana industry, I'm fighting against the woke. I'm not woke, I'm sleep. And I'm fighting against it. And I need y'all help. I need everybody help that watch this video, the people that come in and come out, and come in and come out. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all help on me. Share the video out, like it, so we can discuss this. I get notifications every time that y'all do something, man.
A year from the Republican debate, I'm sorry, the general election, Republican versus Democrat, when they face each other, who do you think is going to be on that stage? Do you think it is going to be a Biden-Trump?
It certainly looks that way, yeah.
Do you think there's any chance Newsom gets in there? Any
Zero.
chance? You're saying
Wow.
zero chance?
Zero
Really?
chance.
Tell me why. Why do you think?
Because I mean, unless Biden withdraws, there is no chance that Newsom runs against Biden.
Wow. Oh, against? No, I totally agree with the against part. I agree that the against. But do you think? Okay, did you see him on Hannity?
I did not see him on Hannity.
By the way, he showed up. He represented, and to me, if you think about a guy, I left California because of Newsom. Because of those policies. So I'm not somebody that's sitting here saying, "Oh."
All right, before I go deep into this, for people that don't know who they're talking about, I wonder, for y'all don't know who they're talking about, I did have this video. I had a video close by. This is what I mean.
That's right. What benefited all of us is the fact that we have a free.
This is who they're talking about. This guy right here. They're liking how he's talking, and I want y'all just hear this a little bit so y'all heard, do he give you the
country.
confidence?
Where
of-
No, what
anybody is
benefited
free
your
to achieve
parents?
what they want. I don't know what they came to this country with not a lot of money. What benefited them was hard work and dedication. My dad faced layoffs when he was growing up at GE.
Right.
He went to law school at night to be able to keep his job. What did that teach me?
Affirmative
Right.
action benefited him?
I don't think affirmative action benefited him. Absolutely not. I think
Well, when
hard
he
work
went
and
through a layoff-
dedication benefited him.
Vivek out here.
Looks like someone who once did a
Do you
bad
think your
thing.
parents would have gotten the same shot without that legislation?
I mean, so it turns out that Asian Americans, Indian Americans
Like you want
don't
to take away
benefit
something
from.
that benefited your parents, which directly benefited.
Now they're attacking them a little bit. They're asking them tough questions. If you really hear the tone and the voice, you can tell that the Breakfast Club is real involved into these questions. They feel like they're being attacked with things of how he look. When somebody say that black people don't need a handout, it's just like, oh, it's not a handout. It's just for us to play catch up. So this is a person that's finna run for president on the Republican side against Santos and Trump. I think he's in third place, and they want to see. They loving this.
See, here's what I'm saying is whether or not it's in our past, the question is, how do we actually move forward as one nation? And I do not believe it is with race-based quotas. I believe it is economically
disagree.
empowering all Americans.
I think that legislation was put here to protect people that look like me, people that look like you, and I think you're ridiculous to want to get rid of.
Here's what I would say is Lyndon Johnson's Great Society that this was part of, right? So affirmative action was part of it. There was a broader set of policies designed to help Black Americans, I think have been disastrous for Black Americans.
I want to say this too. On the radios, on The View, or talk shows, he sound good. But the question would be like, how does he sound in a rally? Do he give the crowd? Can he talk to 10,000s of people that's looking at him at once and say a speech that's embracive? Obama spoke, it made you want to listen. That's one thing Democrats had good for the two that I can say that had very good speeches. And that's Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. They had very good people that wrote speeches to try to make a point. Now, Trump did something different. He changed the game. As in, not only am I going to give you a speech that's going to motivate you, that's going to arouse you, that's going to give you what you're looking for, but I'm going to give you facts, baby. I'm going to bust your head with facts. This is happening. This is happening. I can do this. I can do this. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. You heard this guy talk.
And all Americans.
Uh-oh. Let's go.
Well, sir, it wasn't disastrous for you. And what Charlamagne is saying is your parents benefited from it.
They did not. I mean, as a point of fact, that's false. Indian Americans
Well,
do
no,
not benefit from
no,
affirmative action.
no, that's not as a point of fact. No, that's not as a point of fact, because without the liberties that Black folks have fought for, which has basically immigrants have been able to prosper in this country because of that. But we're not going to go there. Let's just.
People say Black people fought for, like Black people were the only people fighting for these things. Black people could fight all they want. They had no power. So there were white people that believed in freedom and equality, and they fought on the behalf of Black people to make sure that they had freedoms and equality. There is no uprising of Black people to the point in which people in positions of power who were Black made a stand, or people took a military stance and said, we're going to take over this and we are going to take back what's ours. Black people never did that in America.
You guys want to get real? Let's get real. My parents were.
That's why the heart of a service. No, sir. Because the Black people hadn't fought.
Yeah, no, we gotta get real. My grandparents lived. They lived in a colonial society. Britain colonized where my grandparents lived as well. But I think that I don't do well by seeing myself as a victim of the white man because actually Great Britain happened to have colonized where my grandparents were actually colonized.
I think
I don't think
benefited your parents when they got here.
That's right.
what benefited
Here's
all
the
of
fight,
us
man.
is the
I-
fact
I
that we have
love
a free
it.
country where
No, what
anybody is
benefited
free
your
to achieve
parents?
what they want.
So, just a small little itty bitty thing that you hear. You hear that he can debate. Like, I'm not knocking that he can't debate. I'm saying that yes, he can debate. But the
Very,
thing,
you know, great with these policies. I can't say that part. But if I were to say, if I have a choice between a Newsom or a Biden going on meeting with the enemy or anybody else representing the big stage, Newsom looks presidential. Biden looks like he's past that. So wouldn't Democrats want more a Newsom than a Biden?
Okay.
I want somebody that's strong. That give you that confidence, that give you that structure of it's gonna get done. It's gonna get done.
Let me qualify
Please.
what I was saying. I am assuming. I mean, Joe Biden has declared for re-election. I mean, he is a candidate. Assuming he remains a candidate, there's zero chance Newsom will run against him. If Biden, for some reason, were to
Fall down
withdraw,
some stairs.
fall down some stairs, break his hip.
Yeah.
You know what happens to people in their 80s.
Yeah.
Then definitely I think Newsom might run, but and then it would be a free for all. I mean, there would be a lot, vice president.
That's the scenario everybody's looking for. There are people that are happy with what Joe Biden has been doing. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. Is those that are happy, truly happy with what Joe Biden is doing, has done, and content. Like, yeah, my boy is doing it. He's doing a good job. It's like, oh my God. We need to start putting a foot forward and just saying, hey, yo, this is not right. This is not what we're looking at, you know? That's what it makes you want to do. Like, yo, I understand that we finna send a lot of military things over here to Iran. Don't forget that, y'all.
I want to move on to you because you've moved up to number 3, right under Ron DeSantis in the list, because there are a lot of Republicans running. What are you doing right, and how do you get even higher?
What we've been doing, David, is if you look at the
To get him higher, you need to go to rallies. He need to hit rally. All these people putting their names in a hat. I think I'm not even going to predict or put my 2 cents in or what's going on with this right here. But I do see a story that I want to hear. I want to listen into on in a second.
the metrics of the number of campaign events we've been doing, it blows the other candidates out of the water. So I'm using the same formula that's worked for me all my life in the business world and in academics before then. Hard work pays off. So we're putting in the work. The other thing that I'm doing is just speaking honestly. My entire campaign strategy is I don't really listen to message consultants for my message. My job is to let the voters of this country know who I am and what I believe. Whether they vote for me or not is their decision. But if I know that I've let them know who I am and what I believe, then I can put my head at night on the pillow and go to sleep with peace.
Guys, I got to tell you, Vivek Ramaswamy is really that guy. He really is. Okay. I mean, this guy is just going on network after network, podcast, talk show after talk show, and they're not even.
Yet again, what I say earlier, y'all, I think he does that. I think he does this part of it well. You know what I don't think he does well? Is be able to get on that stage and talk in front of a lot of people. But yet again, I want to hear this dark history. I got to hear
What
this
have you
story.
learned the last few years of censorship canceling?
I gotta
religion?
switch it up.
You
You
can't
got
say anything about Muslim, okay? They're not tolerant when it comes down to bashing their religion. You can't say anything about Judaism. If you do, you could potentially get canceled all over the place. But say anything you want about Christianity, and it's like, it's okay. You can make a comedy thing, a skit, make fun of them. They're totally fine. Because Christians are known for being the most tolerant religion. And in America, Christians have been like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And finally, they're saying, dude, I am no longer okay. You're pushing the envelope with my kids, and I'm sick of it. And they're starting to find themselves. So let me tell you what I got here. I got a bunch of polls from Gallup. I got studies on Black Democrats versus white Democrats on how they stand towards LGBTQ, transgender, same-sex marriage. We're going to look at some of the most tolerant countries in the world towards same-sex marriage. We're also going to hear a message from Malcolm X on what he had to say many years ago, which for some of you are going to listen to say, holy flippin' moly. But we're definitely going to touch this uncomfortable issue of same-sex marriage in this episode. This one's a tough one, ain't it? You kind of like looking at.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we even get into this, y'all already seen the title. Before we get into this, let you go, get your drinks, go get your stuff started. I'm gonna run and do me a quick little commercial, real fast, and then we're gonna get into this one. Okay, I'll be right back. And we're back. I just wanted to do that because I felt like before we got into this right here, you know, this is the most dangerous probably subject to talk about on the internet. You know what I'm saying? I luckily have been getting away with murder, talking about them and discussing them and bringing their videos up all the time of things that they do without getting banned and hated on, because I really don't put up in my title what we're talking about. And you know what I'm saying? So I'm appreciative, you know what I'm saying? And plus, I don't have a big ass audience. If I had a big ass audience, trust me, they'd been on my case. But I don't have a big ass audience. I appreciate that y'all coming here. Now we grow big ass audience. I appreciate it. But the people that's in here now and they be watching it, definitely We want to know the dark secrets and histories and stuff. We finna learn the facts. Please, without no more hesitation. We finna smoke. Get into this.
This one's a tough one, ain't it? You're kind of like looking at saying, is Pat really going into this? I am. By the way, if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But here's what prompted this episode. A Gallup poll came out recently saying fewer in U.S. say same-sex relations morally acceptable. Now, Gallup is not left. It's not right. It's in the middle, similar to Pew Research. Here's what they have to say. They had a lot of different issues to see the plus minus, such as birth control, divorce, having a baby outside of marriage, gambling, death penalty, abortion. Everything is there. But the one that had the biggest plus minus was gay or lesbian relations. We went from 2022, 71% being okay with it, to a drop of 7%, now down to 64%, which, by the way, even Democrats went from 85% to 79% saying they're okay with same-sex marriage. This is kind of strange when you look at this, right? So we said, let's look at this even a little bit more. How did this happen? Did we all of a sudden become more conservative? Did we all of a sudden as a nation say, no, we're not okay with this? I don't know, but there's definitely some things to go even deeper on to take a look at. Another Gallup poll came out with the following question. Do you think gays or lesbians should or should not be hired for each of the following occupations? There's a bunch of them. I'm only going to touch a few of them. If you want to see the rest of them, we'll give you the link to look at. But let's take a look at some of these occupations. Armed forces. In 1977, it was 51%. Yes, they should be hired for this job. 38% said no. Then in 1999, that 51 went to 70. In 2019, that 51 went to 83%. Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, fine. Armed forces. Number two, doctors went from 44% in 1977 to 75% in 1999 to now 91%, which means we don't care if somebody's a gay doctor or a straight doctor. America's okay with that. Next, clergy. These are pastors, priests. 1977, 36%. 1999, 54%. Today, 72%. 72% are okay if the pastor is gay. Okay, that's America. Next, elementary school teachers, okay, which is where your kids are going to be around. 1977 was 27%. 1999, 54%. Today, 81%. By the way, so some of you say, Pat, who cares if the elementary school teacher is a gay teacher or not? Well, if they are, your kids are around it. If you're okay with that, great. If you're not, no problem.
Y'all know where I want to stop and pause and get into it, but I'm gonna let them keep going.
But that's how America feels about it. By the way, I can tell you from multiple families I talk to local here, there's a big private school here that's around $50,000 per year, K through 12. So many parents are taking their kids out of the school because they've crossed the line on way too much LGBTQ pride and trying to impose it on the students.
Impose it? Like if you're gay, okay. If you're LGBTQ, no. That's the lie right there.
And a lot of parents are saying, listen, you're not what you used to be 20 years ago. Even though I went here, I'm taking all my kids out and they're leaving to different schools right around the corner. I hear this locally, and I bet this is happening all across the country as well. Now, next question from Gallup. You ready? In your view, is being gay or lesbian something a person is born with or due to factors such as upbringing and environment? Look how much this has changed since 1977. In 1977, only 13% said this is something you're born with. 56% said you're gay because of your environment. In 1999, that 13 went to 34%, and the environment went down to 40%. And then I'll bring it to today, born with 49%, environment 32%. So from 1977, which was roughly 45, 46 years ago to today, we went from 13%, you think you're born with it, you're not, to 49%. Yeah, about half the country says you're born this way. That's a pretty big difference just in 45 years. Here's another controversial one that some people are uncomfortable talking about. I'm proud of the fact that Gallup's actually doing these kinds of surveys. Do you think gays and lesbians should or should not be allowed to adopt children? 1977, 14%. Today, 75%. Should gays and lesbians be allowed to adopt children? Just 45 years ago, we're not okay with it. Today, 75% is okay with it. Some will say, well, you think it's a bad idea? How about all these kids that need a place to live? Who cares who gets them, whether they're gay or straight? Fine. Some people say, do you see about all these other arrests that are coming out with gay parents that are adopting kids and what's happening to these kids? Yeah, but that doesn't happen all the time. Either way, there's an argument for both sides. So now let's take a look at history. When did this whole thing get started? When did we coin the term homosexual? You know when it was? 1869, it was first coined by Hungarian journalist Karl Maria Kertbeny. Then in 1897, the first known gay rights organization called the Scientific Humanitarian Committee is founded in Germany. 1924, Magnus Hirschfeld publishes The Transvestites, The Psychology of Sex Expression. This was one of the first scientific studies of transgender people. 1968, congressional proceedings reference gender identity that occurs in a report on public health service under the National Institute of Mental Health summary of sex deviates, which included gender identity disorder as a future direction for research. That's 1968 under Lyndon Johnson, if you wonder who the president is. 1971, the first legal challenge to a state ban on same-sex marriage was filed in Minnesota. 1973, which by the way is only about 50 years ago if you think about it. Ready? The American Psychiatric Association removes homosexuality from its list of mental disorders. That means in 1972 being homosexual was a mental disorder. This ain't 200 years ago, folks. This is just 50 years ago when we, the health professions, used to think it was a mental disorder to be gay. 1973, it changed. 1974, the first gay pride marches are held in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. 1986, you ready for this one? Courts rule that there is no constitutional protection for sodomy. In Bowers versus Hardwick, ruling allows sodomy to continue being criminally prosecuted in states where laws prohibit homosexual activity. So why is this 1986? Because the AIDS epidemic was in June of 81, and people were worried about what was taking place. A lot of gay folks were getting AIDS because the whole concept of sodomy is what they're talking about. If you don't know what sodomy is, don't go Google it because some sites may come up. But that's kind of what caused this 1986 ruling. 1987, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that sexual orientation is not a constitutionally protected class. This is 87, okay? How long ago was that? 35 years ago? 36 years ago? 1988. 1993 was the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy prohibiting lesbians, gay, and bisexual people from coming out or telling others about anything related to their sexual activity. Anything related to their sexuality is codified on this date. Same year, 1993, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that the Boy Scouts of America cannot discriminate against gays and lesbian scouts. 1994, big year, the National Education Association, NEA, passes a resolution calling for the inclusion of LGBTQ topics in the curriculum. 1996, another interesting one, Congress passes the Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA, which defines marriage as between one man and one woman for federal purposes, signed by the one and only Bill Clinton. This was obviously a major setback for the same-sex marriage, but it was overturned in 2013. 2003, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that same-sex sexual activity is illegal in all 50 states. 2004, Massachusetts becomes the first state to legalize same-sex marriage. Do you want to know who the governor was? Republican Governor Mitt Romney. 2005, the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network releases its first national school climate survey, which finds that LGBTQ students are disproportionately bullied and harassed in schools, which leads to 2008, California voters approved Proposition 8, which banned same-sex marriage in the state. 2009, Proclamation 8387, President Barack Obama dedicates June as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. 2011, California passes the Fair Education Act, which requires that all public schools in the state teach about the contributions of LGBTQ community to history and culture. 2011, Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed. 2013, Gender Identity Disorder updated to Gender Dysphoria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. In 2015, this is a big one, the Supreme Court rules in Obergefell versus Hodges that the fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by the Due Process and Equal Protection Clauses of the 14th Amendment. This decision legalizes same-sex marriage in all 50 states. Okay, so in 2016, 2017, Barack Obama tried to make it more inclusive for transgenders to be able to participate and not get judged. Trump comes up and he revokes it, but then here's what happens the following year in 2018. The White House announces that most transgender people are prohibited in the military, okay? Then in 2020, a letter from the Department of Education announces that the inclusion of transgender athletes in sports teams based on their gender identity is a Title IX violation. This motion effectively bans transgender athletes from participating in sports. So look, why are all these parents? I mean, you see in Glendale what's going on with the protesting. Parents are coming out saying, GUSD, we're sick and tired of Glendale Unified School District. And it's happening across the country. But how did all this material go into school? Why are public school teachers teaching this stuff? It's pissing off parents. How do we get here? You have to know who's behind it all. For example, do you remember how we talked about earlier about the California passing the Fair, Accurate, Inclusive Act in 2011, which requires all public schools in the state to teach about the contributions of the LGBTQ people to history and culture? That's kind of how it happened. It was something that passed. But more importantly, policies that make LGBTQ-related material mandatory in schools are typically approved by state legislatures. In some cases, these policies are the result of grassroots activism, while in other cases, they are initiated by government officials. Once it's a policy, it is then implemented by school district. And who was the most responsible for the California Fair Education Act? You ready? These organizations: Equality California, Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, Human Rights Campaign, HRC, National Center for Lesbian Rights, Transgender Law Center. And what do these organizations have in common? You ready? They have the same 3 donors. And do you want to know who's behind these 3 donors? I wonder who. Do you want to take a wild guess? You probably will get it right. Let me give it to you. First one is Gilead Sciences. In 2001, they became the first company to develop a once-daily pill for the treatment of HIV and AIDS. That's one of the biggest funders. And by the way, do you know who's been a shareholder of theirs since 1999? Soros Fund Management. And in 2015, Soros Fund Management was one of the investors in a group that acquired a majority stake in Themis Medicare, a company that provides specialty.
Remember the story a long time ago where we watched What is a Woman? And we learned the facts about how scientifically it started. And you got to find out who the people that's doing the research. Now you're finding out the people who was following that research behind that education so they can infiltrate these laws. These are technically, you would call the lobbyists.
Pharmacy services to patients with HIV and AIDS. And Gilead Sciences is a major customer of Themis Medicare. The second foundation is called the Arcus Foundation, and George Soros is a trustee of the Arcus Foundation and has donated millions of dollars to this foundation. And the third one, ready? The Gill Foundation, which, who do you think is a trustee? George Soros is a trustee and has donated millions of dollars.
Yet again, this is what you would call a lobbyist. If you ain't never seen a lobbyist person in your life, this is the first time that you can say that you've seen a lobbyist and who they are and what they stand for and who they're coming from and where they're coming from. This is a lobbyist. This is one of them big head honchos that try to sit down with the president, or they try to sit down with the first lady, or in them type of areas, and sway them to put bills into order so they can get certain agendas done.
Dollars to the foundation's work. A little weird. Why is this guy behind it? Why are you so concerned about kids and wanting to teach this to them? Like, how does it matter to you, George Soros? Why do you care so much? It's a valid question for parents to ask why he's funding this. By the way, as of June 2023, there are 6 states that make it mandatory to teach LGBTQ-related material in schools. Ready? California, Colorado, Illinois, Nevada, Jersey, and Oregon. So look, I don't know where you stand or what you're going to be saying, but either way, you're probably like, what the hell is about this? Kind of uncomfortable to talk about this stuff. You're either watching and saying, I can't stand you doing this. This is why I hate valuetainment and PVDN. No problem. Or you're saying this, wow, I never knew about this stuff. I'm kind of interested in what else he has to say. I want to kind of look at some religions. If you were to look at which one is the most tolerant to same-sex marriage and which one is the least. If we have to say Muslim, that's the least tolerant. But the most tolerant is Catholics. And this is according to Pew Research. It's followed by Jews, then mainline Protestant, then historically Black Protestant, then Mormons at 27%, and the least tolerant is the evangelical Protestant. And by the way, why don't we look at U.S. World News on what countries are the most tolerant to same-sex marriage? Here's what you will find according to U.S. News. If we look at these 24 different countries, you see at the top where it says totally opposed, somewhat opposed, somewhat favor, strongly favor, or total favor score all the way to the right. Here's what you'll find. Canada, 79. U.S., 63. But look at this. The country with the highest favorability score is Sweden with 92. Then it's Netherlands, then Spain, France, then Germany. You can look at the rest. The lowest, believe it or not, is Hungary in that list with 31. But if you go to other countries such as Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country in the world, it's got the lowest score with 5 outside of Nigeria, and even Kenya's at 9. and Israel is at 36. It tells you most Christian nations are tolerant, and those that are Muslim nations are not tolerant for same-sex marriage. As if I haven't pissed you off enough with this data that we're sharing with you, I'm gonna share with you from Pew Research. And here's what it says. Unlike other Democrats, a majority of black Democrats say gender is determined by sex at birth. So these are black Democrats. These are folks who were really needing civil rights at one point just 60 years ago. Now they're kind of saying civil rights is different than gay rights. If you look at this, here's what it says. So unlike other Democrats, a majority of black Democrats say gender is determined by sex at birth. If you look at this here, the yellow to the left is determined sex assigned at birth. The blue on the right is can be different from sex assigned at birth. If you look at the Republican leaning, you'll see 86 say, no, your sex is determined at birth. 13 say you can change. But look at the white. 72% say it can be different from sex assigned at birth. But look at blacks, only 33. That's a 40-point discrepancy, and blacks are 66% saying it's determined by sex at birth. You know what it says? Blacks are closer to Republicans than white liberals. They have a 40-point difference. Hispanics are at 44, and Asians are at 38, but blacks are the least tolerant on this topic, according to Pew Research. Here's another one, man. Black Democrats are going to piss off a lot of the white Democrats when you see this. And this is purely their data. I didn't do this here. You can get upset at Pew Research and write a negative review about them because these guys are pissing off some of the wrong people. Watch this one. Democratic K-12 parents differ by race, ethnicity over what kids should learn in school about gender identity. Look at this here. Percentage-wise, I mainly want to look at the left one here, which is the green one, where it says someone can be a boy or a girl, even if it's different from sex at birth. Republicans say no. 9% agree with this. White said 64%. Yes, you can be different than what you were born with, but blacks said 30%. Do you realize blacks are only 21% away from Republicans and 34 away from white Democrats? How weird is that? My experience from being in the military with my black friends or selling memberships at Bally's or working in the financial industry for the last 20 years with our African-American community, the grandmothers and the mothers are typically very conservative. So this makes sense to me. And by the way, I just want you to watch this one video by this guy. You may know this guy's name is Malcolm X. He gave this speech many, many years ago, comparing the difference between what a white liberal is versus a white conservative. And the only reason I want you to watch this speech, if you've never seen this before, is because in this context, we're comparing black Democrats to white Democrats. Here's what Malcolm X had to say about this many, many decades ago.
The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro Civil Rights League, who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gain.
You hear it.
Progress.
You hear him,
So what do you
right?
think
Y'all
about
heard
that?
him, right?
What do you think about what he has to say? You think they liked what he had to say? He's calling everybody out. And by the way, there's a part of America today that believes that. They're like, wait a minute, I don't relate to what's going on in America today. I love America. I'm a John F. Kennedy Democrat. I love what America stood for. I'm not part of all this craziness. Here's a stat that just came out that shows what's going on by generation by generation by generation. This is pissing off parents. So let me get this straight. So traditionalists, people being born before 1946, only 1.7% of them are part of the LGBTQ community. As if they're afraid to come out of the closet. You know how people say, well, because people are more comfortable today to come out. No, there isn't anybody that's more comfortable who doesn't give a shit about what you and I think than the older generation. They don't care what you and I think. Like, I'm 72 years old. I'm gay. I don't care if you like. They don't care whether you think anything about it or not. They're only at 1.7%. Baby boomers are at 2.7%. Gen X is 3.3%. Millennials born from 1981 to 1996 are 11.2%. And Gen Z, kids born from 1997 to 2004, 20%, 1 out of 5. Really? That's really naturally, that's how they were? Or is this going back to the Gallup thing that we looked at where it says environment? Do you remember the whole environment was a big part of it? Yeah, this is saying that we were smarter 50 years ago than we are today. And by the way, remember how I started this? And I said there's 4 things I pray for: courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. Trust me, it takes courage to make this video because I'm going to get a lot of hate for a video like this. But the tolerance part, it's starting to get to a point that, listen, this concept of tolerance, back in the days it was Corinth, now was a city that was Corinth. Now America, the greatest country in the world, is turning into Corinth. The school you're going to, you're okay with that? So are we, you know what happens typically with tolerant people? Here's how tolerant people are. Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's fine. Yeah, I'm not with it, but go for it. Yeah, it's cool. A little bit of tolerance, fine. All of a sudden you realize, I think that guy's taking advantage of my tolerance. Am I being preyed on? Am I being abused a little bit? Listen, you're not doing this anymore. You crossed the line with my kids. We're staying right here. And by the way, I'm Middle Eastern. I fall in a very weird category. Yeah, I've experienced all these other things. Hey, you know, you're discriminating, you're from Iran. I understand why somebody would say that for being from Iran. Totally get it. I'm from Iran. I get it. But women's rights, there is no debate. Of course we have to have women's rights. Civil rights, absolutely. I don't care if I'm darker than you or whatever I am. Yes. Gay rights has turned into a religion where everybody's walking on eggshells, especially the Christian community, because we are seen, you guys are tolerant so we can take advantage of you. And Muslims say, listen, man, pump the brakes. We're right here. We don't play the games here. Go do that in America, not in our country. Oh, okay. We'll respect it. But no, in America, these guys are cowards. They're so tolerant. You can take advantage of them. And
y'all seen the numbers, right? Y'all seen the numbers. What else do we need to do? We need to start going to these rallies. Hey, just speaking out, speaking up. If that's too hard to do, then I don't know what to say. But speaking up and speaking out is too hard to do. I don't know what to do. Because that's what we need to start doing, y'all. Just keeping it real. I love everybody. I love how you believe. You know, just when you pushing and you doing this so-called making us feel like we have to do something. Like my mother said, oh, it's starting to look like Rome. In a minute, I'm like, ooh. I had the same thoughts too. I have the same thoughts too. I did. I sometimes do believe that it's going to come upon a time to where we're going to be in this world where it's not a lot of people doing what we're supposed to be doing. Y'all, I'm just, okay. Not trying to be mean, not trying to say, no, just how I see it. And then, not only do you see it, you bring videos up every day. I could not wait until I was able to bring videos up here to start showing y'all, like, man, this what be going on for real. Stop playing. People be like, nah, man, you don't have no videos. Man, what? There's videos every day. But this LBGT hate crime stuff, where's these videos? Why is not captured on film? And then when it's captured on film, it's done to themselves. Really? Why is it done to themselves? Why does it make a difference of how it was brought to them? Like, that's crazy. It was done, you know how America is. Oh man, where you found that? Let's record it. We're gonna record it and then we're gonna let you know what it is. It's real simple. It's real easy. Okay. They trying to let us feel like we're
I
stupid.
want to move on to you.
They want us to feel like we're stupid. I know y'all don't feel like it because y'all not stupid. I'm glad y'all don't fall for it. I'm totally glad. Totally glad. Now, this is a story I knew nothing about. It just came across my screen. And I just want to share this information with you guys because I feel like stuff like this is just like, yeah, I gotta
Thank you so
share
much
it,
for joining
period.
us for CBN News Watch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, why was cocaine in the White House and how did it get there? That's what the Secret Service is trying to find out, and some lawmakers had some questions of their own. What's behind the surge in people dropping dead unexpectedly in the last couple of years? We're going to hear from one author who believes there's a link.
The second one is what I was preparing for. I do not want to talk about the cocaine leak. Oops. I'm really just trying to find that story. And here it is. Yeah, there we go.
Download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
I wasn't going to watch all that shit.
Sudden death among healthy working age people worldwide is skyrocketing. Here in America, it was up 40% during the third and fourth quarters of 2021. Edward Dowd is the author of the book Cause Unknown, The Epidemic of Sudden Deaths in 2021 and 2022. He contends a 10% jump would have been a 1 in 200-year event, but the 2021 jump was 40%. Might COVID-19 have skewed the numbers, or was it something else? Here's a look at Gary Lane's interview.
2020, it was mostly old folks who died of COVID with comorbidities. Then there was a sudden mix shift in 2021 and 22 and continues in 23. And my work and my partner's work points to something that happened with the employed of our country. It's been detrimental to your health to be employed in 21 and 22. And we examined the Society of Actuaries, which is an industry group for insurers that does surveys. In August of 22, they came out with a survey for their group life policyholders. And group life is a specific policy for those who onboard to Fortune 500 or mid-sized companies. You get this death benefit as kind of a freebie when you onboard, and you get 1 or 2 extra salary. Should you die, you get that, your family gets that, or your beneficiary. You have to be employed at the time to get it. Well, this is a great business for insurance companies. And in 2021, the whole industry experienced 40% excess death in ages 25 through 64. The millennials 25 through 44 were hard hit, particularly. The group life policyholders generally die at 1/3 the rate of the general U.S. population in any given year. And in 2021, I just said they had 40% excess death. The general U.S. population had 32% excess death.
Well, it seems like, tell us about some of these unexpected sudden deaths. It seems like there are a lot of them. I mean, just from a Google search, you can find like a lot of 12, 14, 16, 18-year-olds that are just dropping dead suddenly. Tell us more.
Right. And in my book, I talk about sudden death, and we look at the sudden deaths of athletes, which, did it happen before 21? It did. There was a study in 2006 by the Lausanne Institute in Switzerland that showed over the course of 38 years, they found 1,101 sudden athletic deaths, which is about 29 a year globally. We'd be lucky to have a month with just 29 since 2021. In my book alone, there's hundreds and hundreds of examples. So something's changed. I obviously blame the vaccine because that's what's changed in mandates. And, the naysayers will tell me it's COVID, long COVID. Well, if that's the case, why did it not affect the young in 2020? And so we have a health problem, a national health crisis, and at the very least, it should be examined and discussed openly. Unfortunately, the vaccine is a taboo subject, and it's not allowed to be discussed in the mainstream media or pretty much anywhere near health authorities. So this is a problem.
I hate that he talking so deep and around in riddles that we can't get a whole grasp of what he's trying to actually say. I know some of us is getting a little lost. So, therefore, we gonna kill. Look, we gonna kill that video. Cause I thought it was just gonna like get right to the point, right to the deepness of what was going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to hop on here and smoke with you guys and discuss a few things. I appreciate you guys coming along with me. See y'all later on. For the next time we do another show. I appreciate all that you've been through. Good night, good afternoon, good morning, whenever time you're watching this. Peace.